Former President Donald Trump's fraud trial continues to go rather poorly, as the judge has had to admonish Trump's legal team for wasting time with repetitive questions. So, New York Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron, who presided over the trial, snapped at Trump's lawyers during a testy exchange, saying this, quote, "You are not allowed to waste time." So, let me give you some context here. Now, on Wednesday, Trump's attorney, Jesus M. Suarez, continued his cross-examination of Donald Bender, an outside accountant who had compiled the Trump Organization's statements of financial conditions until 2020. The New York AG's office, which brought the lawsuit, questioned Bender on Tuesday, and in cross-examination, Suarez had asked whether Bender, and not Trump and his children, would have been responsible for those statements, which the AG's office said included outrageous valuations that were fraudulently used to obtain bank loans. So that's, again, claiming that Mar-a-Lago is worth like $1 billion, when, of course, it had been appraised at much, much lower, at $18 million, and saying, well, look at how much it's worth. I get to borrow my money, right? You could give me a bigger credit limit. So, obviously, that's fraudulent. Now, Suarez instead asked Bender, quote, "The buck stops with you, right?" No, it actually doesn't. So, look, what this is the Trump strategy of blaming somebody else. No, it wasn't me, it was him. He did it. Wait, what? No, except he didn't. So Bender stressed that during multiple questions that he and his accounting firm, Mazars USA, was responsible for compiling the documents, yes, but that it was the Trump Organization that was ultimately responsible for giving them the market value and liabilities for each property. So it's not up to the accounting firm to do appraisals. So, if the company wants to get a loan, they first have to have their properties appraised, which means hiring an appraiser to do this and then writing down the valuations and then giving it to the accounting firm. Okay? And it's not the accounting firm's job to appraise the properties. So they rely on the information that the Trump Organization gives them. That's it. But none of that, again, those are facts, but facts, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Just forget about the evidence.
Didn't stop Suarez from pulling up a list of 200 corporate sub-entities of the Trump Organization, many of them believed to be apartments, and asked about Bender's work on every single one. So understand, tried to go through each of the 200 and go, okay, what about this one? Can you answer me about this one? What about that one? Oh, yeah. And so it's just a gigantic time-wasting exercise. And at one point, Judge Engoron was like, can we just agree the questions will be the same and the answers will be the same for each of them? Because if the answer was not the same, remember, this is a trial, which means they're under oath. And if you lie while under oath, then that's going to get you in trouble. And of course, if you lie, there's going to be evidence to show that you've lied because you've already submitted the evidence in discovery. So they already knew the answers ahead of time. And so why go through each and every one of them to question him whether or not he was in charge of the valuations? Because he wasn't. So when asked, Bender said the answers would be the same for each of them, and then they moved on. Now, that's not the only time that they tried to do this tactic. A short while later, Suarez went through the financial statements for each year of Bender's more than a dozen years of involvement with the Trump Organization, and again started asking the same kinds of questions about each of them. Yes, that's right. Each and every one of them. When the judge realized it, he immediately put a stop to it, saying, "We're not going to go through each year, are we? No, I'm not going to let you do that." I love that. He's not taking crap, right?
Can't let that happen.
Not going to do it. Not going to do it. All right. Now, Engoron asked Bender whether his answer would be the same for each year. When Bender said yes, And Gorin had asked Suarez to move on, asking, what's the difference? Jesus. Getting a little frustrated, slightly. But it's because he wants to move the trial along. Not going to let Trump's lawyers sit there and slow walk the whole thing, which again is the point, right? Now the lawyers claim, well, we're just trying to be accurate. And look, the AG's office had a responsibility to make an affirmative case of wrongdoing for each year. So he says, well, look, that's why our cross-examination of Bender and going through the nitty-gritty details of every single year and every single sub-corporation of the Trump organization and asking these very specific questions. So doing that is going to put a hole in your case, in the AG's case. So that's why we got to do it. But wait, Engoron doesn't have a problem with that, with obviously the defense trying to poke a hole in the prosecution's case. That's what they're supposed to do. But Engoron said that the problem here is that it's inefficient to go through every single one when you could just ask them, hey, are these all the same for every year? And he's going to say either yes or no. That's it, because they're under oath. So all the testimony, he said, was covered simply by asking if Bender's answers would be identical. Quote, he said every year the answer will be the same. So look, again, it's pretty clear to me that they're trying to slow this down as much as possible. And furthermore, they're trying to anger the judge, so that when this is over, the Trump defense can appeal any decision that's made, obviously a negative decision, and make the claim that we were treated unfairly. We were not allowed to defend our client adequately or ask the questions. And so therefore, at the end, you should just nullify any decision. Remember, a decision would effectively end Trump's, empire business in New York City, or in the state of New York, period. So it'd be the end of Trump Inc., essentially. They don't want that to happen. Obviously, Trump doesn't. For obvious reasons. And his sons, his family. But that's it. They want this nullified so that none of this happens. And also because they don't have a defense. See, this is a long shot, this defense is. It has nothing to do with proving that Trump didn't do fraud. The same case seems pretty clear. Prosecution seems pretty clear on this. They did their homework. Letitia James, of course, very thorough in, trying to prove that they were committing fraud by massively overinflating their assets and trying to cheat insurance companies and banks out of loans. Okay? And so they don't really have a counter argument against that. So they've got to muck up the process in order to try to get the case thrown out or any decision thrown out. That's why they're complaining about, lack of jury and all this stuff. And now, of course, not being able to go through and ask questions. Because, again, they already know the answer to all of this in the cross-examination. But what they're trying to do is just to, again, irritate the judge, mess with the process, to claim that the process is unfair. That is their defense. But, and it's kind of sad, but again, that's what happens when you represent someone who is so transparently guilty of being a lifelong con man.